This is July the 31st,
Yes.
2017, and I'm at Camp Chesterfield interviewing Eugene Corkell. Thank you for being here with us, Corky, today.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the first couple of questions that I had for you, could you tell us where you were when you received the call to come to Camp Chesterfield for the first time, and what year that was?
Well, you asked some impossible questions here. It's been a long time. I was living in southern Indiana when I first came, and we made an appointment with Norman Williams to come to camp. And my wife, myself, mother-in-law, Marie Trump, came up here to see Norman Williams and spent the night. And
In the Sunflower.
yes, in Sunflower.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about Norman Williams. What drew you to visit him?
Norman Williams was a psychic artist, and we came up and had several pictures drawn by him. Toured the art gallery while he was here. It was the first time I was ever on camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what was your immediate impression of Norman and the art gallery? And
Norman was fantastic. He drew pictures that I had seen the night before of my aunt, and right to the T, even the necklace that she had on.
wow,
It was perfect.
wow. You still have those, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so tell me a little bit about staying in the Sunflower.
It was a totally different experience. Most of the hotels we stayed at, had air conditioning and everything, and it was set back in the air where it was unique.
Yeah. What year was that when you came?
Oh, it had to be mid-70s, probably 77, 78.
And what were you doing down in, was it in Jeffersonville?
Yeah.
Okay, what were you doing there?
I was trucking. I'd got laid off from General Motors and bought a semi and went trucking, and got divorced, remarried, and moved into Jeffersonville.
Wow, okay. Now, would you say that Norman Williams was one of your most influential teachers, or were there others?
All of them was unique in their own way. As far as sitting down with a particular teacher, I didn't, not here. My background was originated from the Brotherhood of Eternal Truth in New Albany. And of course a lot of people from camp at that time serviced our church in New Albany.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the Brotherhood.
Just a small group of people came together and done a nonprofit organization, had their own church, their own bookstore. A lot of people here from camp mediums participated with us. Norman Williams, Gladys Strome, Ellen Regal, mercy, just a bunch of them. Clifford Bias, Charlie Swan, Bill English, Ralph Jordan.
Well, you named a bunch of them.
Harold Aarons.
Yeah, can you tell me what you remember? Let's try each one of them. Let's talk about Clifford Bias to start. Tell me about him.
You picked the hardest one. He was just someone that was very informative of the things that he done, and he just his seances were immaculate. I mean, they were just, never was a dull moment in them. They just, quite active.
Yeah, and he did trumpet seance, right?
Yes.
He did trumpet seance. And what about Bill English?
Bill English was a trumpet medium. Um, he could have 3, 4, 5 trumpets up at the same time. His information for me was correct on the spot.
It's good. Yeah. Evelyn Regal was also a trumpet medium?
Yes.
Okay, and tell me about some of her seances.
She had quite a few seances with us at the Brotherhood. We had done a seminary in West Baden, and her and Charlie Swan would both come down, and they would do a joint seance together. Let's see, it's hard to remember this stuff. It's been so long ago, everything, but Evelyn brought in some psychic surgery from the Philippines that would attend our seminaries whenever she was there.
Wow. Wow. So she also worked as a healer as well as
Yes.
a medium, yeah.
Well, she was the main reason. She was the one that invited the psychic healers at
And we also mentioned Charlie Swan.
Charlie Swan.
Yeah.
He done a lot of work with Evelyn. He used to bring in an Indian that was just unreal, just outstanding for materialization. And he also done precipitation on silk, which was fabulous.
All right. Was that scotographs on silk?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you explain what scotograph is?
Yeah, just you would go in, sit in the dark, hold a piece of silk to your solar plexus, and by the end of the session, the seance, you would have a picture of a loved one or someone that you could recognize.
Wow. Okay. And so what precipitated a move to camp? I mean, leaving the Brotherhood and then coming up here?
I got called back to work for General Motors. I've been laid off for about 9 years, and I got called back, so I moved back to Chesterfield to return to work.
Right. And so was it at that time that you bought your house here on the grounds?
Yes. The house at 307 Western.
I know you did a lot of work on that. Tell me about what it looked like when you got it and
Well,
what you
the
did
house
to
was
it.
getting ready to be condemned. Camp was using it for a warehouse. There was a hole in the roof. Squirrels had filled most of it full of nuts, walnuts. They was storing mattresses and springs in there. We hauled all them out to the dump. I think we took out like 30 some sets of mattresses and box springs. It was a 1-story. We redone the 1-story. A few years later, we added the 2nd story. And it is what it is now.
Right. So was it like so many other buildings on camp where a couple of different cottages had been pushed together?
The front porch of it was actually the guard shack, and it was moved from where Hoyt's house is now. It was the guard shack was sitting there, and the porch off that was moved to here in 47.
Oh, okay. And what year was this when you moved back?
1980.
1980, okay. And then it was after that time, I believe, that you joined the board and started doing more work here with camp.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that you're proud of that you were able to accomplish while you were here at camp.
Other than raising my daughter, that was about the neatest thing I've done really here. But as far as working on camp, I just enjoyed working outside and knowing what was here, and
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that, because you worked a lot on the grounds. We'll come back to your daughter. You worked a lot on the grounds, so you know this place pretty intimately. Can you tell me a little bit about some of your favorite places and the energies that you feel there?
favorite energy is probably the cathedral. Um, just love the way it looks, and I like the feeling of the inside of it. I like the grounds around it. Um, we used to set off fireworks off the roof on the 4th of July.
Well, for people who've not been in the cathedral, tell them a little bit about what it looks like in there.
I forget what the capacity of it is as far as people, but it's a great auditorium. Sound-wise, it is wonderful. The seats are comfortable, and it's the stage is where everyone can see and hear you. It's
Mm-hmm. It has stained glass windows. And
stained glass windows. You used to have a very good PA system, and the lighting was good too. And we've used it several times since for the monks when they were here.
Right, right. The Tibetan monks were here, and I saw their performance there. That was really wonderful. And I've seen healing services in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've it's been used for forever, really. It's just, I think we even had an animal healing service in there.
Yeah, and who led that?
Pat Kennedy.
Yeah, Reverend
Patricia.
Patricia. Can you tell me a little bit about what building was there before the cathedral? What you know about that?
I don't.
You don't know
Don't
about
know
the
what
wooden
was-
building that was there
No.
before? Yeah. I didn't know if you had any of the history of when it burned.
I'd heard of it, but I don't really know anything about it. The cathedral's the only thing that I've ever seen that's there
Okay.
since I've been here.
Okay. Are there any other places other than the cathedral on the grounds that you really particularly enjoy?
Just the old bazaar was a trip in itself.
And that's where the labyrinth is
That's
now.
where the labyrinth is now.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what that building was like and what it was used for.
Well, it was a gift shop. At one time it was a post office. The upstairs was a residence for guest mediums. I believe there was 2 apartments up there.
Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about raising your daughter on these grounds, because there are not a lot of children here now, but I'd be interested in finding out what the energy was like when there were children here and how they responded to it.
No, Katrina, she loved it. She's in southern Indiana now, but when she was here, she graduated from Highland High School. A lot of her friends that she had would come spend time with her and everything, but she loved it. And she comes back every year, and well, she'll be here for Spirit Fest.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Can you say a little bit about who some of your more influential people were after you got here that you enjoyed working with or seeing on the platform? Or
Susie Greer.
okay, let's talk about Susie. You tell me about how long you knew Susie and the things that she did.
Susie and her husband Paul, myself and my wife, we all got to camp about the same time. And also probably Wynn and Shirley showed up about the same time, and we all kind of clicked together and done a lot of different things together. Susie was a fantastic medium, and had a lot of ideas, a lot of gifts. And she was really good at what she did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I understand Paul was sort of in the background, but that he had gifts as well.
Paul had gifts as well. He was also a contractor. He done readings and uh, catered a lot to Susie when whatever she needed for her clientele and everything. He pretty well seen that she had everything there.
Right. And tell me a little bit about Wynn and Shirley when you knew them.
Wynn and Shirley, when they started coming, they was from Michigan, in Michigan, and they'd come down and work the psychic fairs and do astrology readings and everything. Wynn would bring his computer and they would do astrology charts, and him and Shirley would do readings and everything at the psychic fair, and then they end up purchasing a house here on camp, and Wynn's still here.
And Wynn's still here. Right. Okay. What do you think about how camp was when you first got there with that group of people that you talked about, and how it is now?
I think it's just as active now as it was then. It just, things are spread out further. And I say that like,
You mean time-wise?
time-wise it's spread out, and there was a lot more activity on camp back then because of the cafeteria being open the whole camp season instead of just weekends. We had a lot more Toadstool readings.
Oh, tell me about the Toadstool readings. Nobody's talked about that yet.
Toadstool readings was every Monday during camp season, over next to where the labyrinth is now. Mediums would sit up out there and do their readings.
Right, and describe what the toadstools look like for people who haven't
Just
seen them.
a round cement table with a bench on each side.
Okay.
And a medium would do one side, and a lot of the toadstools out there now, if you look at them, they've got signatures inscribed in the top of them who usually sit there, who done the readings there.
Right, so that's
Everything's
every Monday, huh?
Every Monday.
That's great. So what were the activities during the rest of the week?
Church services.
Every day?
Yes. I don't remember what the times were now, but they had church services. They done, a lot of the mediums was booking their readings at the time, taking appointments for seances at night. Bookstore was open. Art gallery was open. They was doing tours through the art gallery. Back then it was called the merry-go-round. Was where the bookstore is now, was the merry-go-round, and then that was another small place to eat, and they had a few gifts and things like that in there.
Were you here when the Lily burned down?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Big fire. Big fire. Yeah, basically just a big fire. That's I think a couple kids had built a fire in the front of it, and they caught them.
Well, they built it on the porch?
Inside,
inside?
Inside in the lobby.
What happened to the kids?
One of them, well, there was two of them. I know one of them got locked up for it and everything. He got convicted of it and everything, and was. I never met him, but years later, his cousin came in and admitted that he was the cousin of the guy, and he was locked up then. So.
Oh wow.
And,
So, were you here when Austin Wallace was here?
yes.
Okay, nobody's talked about Austin yet, so tell me a little bit about him.
Austin was a unique guy. I'd done a lot of work for Austin in his basement. His basement was falling in, and I done a lot of cement work for him down there, and we used to sit out there and have several conversations. And one of the things that Austin would say was, during the week, you could shoot a cannon off in the middle of the grounds and not worry about hitting anybody. but the weekends were full.
So that was after they stopped doing regular everyday things during the middle of the week, and it was just became a weekend.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Let's see, who else have I failed to ask you about? Because you knew a bunch of them. Louise.
I mainly remember Louise as president of camp when I was on the board, on top of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So she handled most of the affairs of camp, and done a lot of publicity. I think I've seen her. She's done a TV show on camp with.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What station was that on?
it was a PBS
A PBS.
station. Yeah, that's Camp Chesterfield.
Wow.
It was on not too long ago.
Really?
Yes, I've seen it. I don't know, 2 or 3 different times now.
Huh. I'll have to ask for that. So it was the PBS station in Indianapolis?
Muncie.
Muncie, in
Yeah,
Muncie.
yeah.
Okay, through Ball State?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. How would you say that spiritualism is relevant now?
No, I just believe it's a way of life. I mean, without it, you're lost. I mean, it's just, even though you don't recognize it, it's there.
Okay, what are the most important precepts that you think are guiding your life? I know that's a hard question, but it just occurred to me to ask you that.
Well, don't. No, I don't know. It's just when it becomes a way of life, you don't question it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's just
Do you rely on your spirit guides for everything, or?
not everything. You got personal responsibility.
Thank you.
It's it doesn't hurt for a second opinion, but you know.
Right. In your own experience of life after death, what was one of the most important messages or readings that you ever had?
Life after death. I think I've been there. Through all my surgical things I've had happen to me, and bypasses and everything. I've been very fortunate and lucky, and I can thank my spirit guides and loved ones for a lot of that.
For bringing you through, yeah. Do you remember anything about those surgeries where you were with your spirit guides?
Yeah, I do, but it's really very personal.
Okay,
I mean,
that's fine.
It's something that I can look back on, but it's not anything I'd really want to
Okay,
talk about. You know, that's
okay. Tell me where you live now.
I live out in the country. It's about 8 miles from camp. 2.5 acres. I built a small labyrinth out there, and just.
Then do you have a shop? What do you do in your shop out there?
Well, I make trumpets and slate writing kits, and I kind of dabble a little bit in metaphysical gifts.
What would you say your strongest gift is?
I don't know that it's a gift, but I'm more into the healing aspect than talking to loved ones or. in the past or whatever. I like the aspect of the healing. I think it's
Okay.
great.
All right, good. Do you work with any stones or stuff like that?
No.
Okay. Is there anything I've forgotten to ask you that you would like to talk about?
And not that I'm aware of. I mean, I think we've covered a lot of stuff and brought a lot of things back from memory that I kind of forgot about, really. Just,
Yeah.
no. I think you covered quite a bit of stuff.
Okay, great. Well, Corky, thank you for talking with me this morning, and this concludes our interview.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. I think it should stop now.